Winheim, somewhere in western Germany, has today approximately 43,000 inhabitants. Back in 1972, five former IBM employees created SAP, that has become the largest European software company by revenue and the world's third largest publicly traded software company. The vision of the IBM former employees was to create a standard application software for real-time business processing. Today we talk SAP. Let's get Tech Talk started.
Welcome to the second episode of Tech Talk, Season 4. In this opportunity, we will talk about enterprise software, more specifically about SAP. Carla, correct me please. This is the proper way to pronounce the name. It's not SAP. You told me that.
Yes, I've been doing some research, and yes, I think that's the correct way to pronounce it. But maybe our guest has some take on it.
Exactly. I wanted to introduce our guest today, but I will ask you kindly to help me pronounce his last name. So welcome, Henrik. Henrik works in our advisory practice, and he's an SAP expert. I may try to pronounce your name is Herenstrahle.
Thank you, Lucia. So you could say Ehrenstrahl, Henrik Ehrenstrahl. I'm actually Swedish by origin, so hence the name.
Okay. Well, for a Spanish speaker, it's a hard to pronounce name.
It's a tough one for us. Yes,
it's a tough one for us. But really welcome for taking the time to be with us. And well, we when I ask Frederic Chappelle, our partner responsible for all the enterprise software practice, he gave me your name. He said, you have to talk to Henrik because he is the man to talk about SAP. So that's why we are here, and we have prepared 5 to 6 questions. I say 5 to 6 because sometimes it can be 7, but no more than that regarding SAP and why it is relevant for companies currently. So, but I will before talking specifically about SAP, I would like to ask you, what are enterprise software systems in general, and if you can give us some examples, because I that will clarify a little bit to kick off this podcast. It will clarify to the audience what they are.
Okay, so I will try to give an explanation of what is enterprise software. So typically, you can say that enterprise software, it's actually business software which covers all typical sort of enterprise processes in a company. So by enterprise processes, typically mean processes which like finance, accounting, procurement, supply chain, HR. So typically all the core processes that you would find in most companies, regardless of which industry. Obviously, they would be different depending on the size, etc., and a lot of different things, but still, those are some core processes. And beyond that, I think it's quite interesting to see also that you can actually sort of distinguish processes between what we call horizontal processes, and this is really the main domain of enterprise software. And then you have vertical processes, which are sort of more in-depth industry-specific ones. So horizontal processes would be process that you find almost in all companies, obviously with a degree of variation, but all companies need to do, they have a finance department to do accounting, to manage general ledger, to manage bookings, to manage invoices, customer payments. All companies, they have some kind of payroll to pay their employees. All companies, they have some kind of buying procurement functions. Those are typical horizontal functionalities. Then you have...
Go ahead. I'm sorry. No, I just wanted to ask you, for instance, because I work in marketing and comms. So all what is called MarTech, marketing technology, or CRM, all that it's a type of enterprise software.
Yeah, you can say so. Yeah, because obviously marketing is a quite important process. But then, as you go along and it becomes really more industry specific or specific for like sort of a type of industry like manufacturing or service industries, you have what we call sort of vertical processes, which are really more typical for that industry, and we have really specific processes and flavor to the process for that industry.
Okay, I got it. And there is one particular type of enterprise software called ERP. And what is exactly an ERP? I know it means enterprise resource planning, and I guess help me with this one, Henrik. SAP is a type of ERP, or I'm saying things that make no sense.
Yeah, so SAP is really a type of ERP, and I would say, if I'm not wrong, I think it's also SAP. You actually do pronounce it SAP. Some people say SAP, but I think that the real name is SAP, German company. So I think SAP were actually the ones who founded the enterprise software, the ERP, and the principle. I mean, you say enterprise, so it's really looking not only at specific processes, but looking through processes in a company. So the fact of buying things, producing things, selling things, and then doing the financial accounting, that you cover all of those main processes in one single solution, one core solution. That's really a key principle of ERP and enterprise management solutions. And yes, SAP is an ERP.
And it brings automation, I guess, right? It automates repetitive tasks linked to different parts of the business.
Well, obviously, software per definition automates because it brings automation. Then, I mean, you have things like workflows in the system, which sort of automatically route things for approvals. But now with new ERPs, or you have dedicated software to also to actually bring even more automation in terms of robotic process automation. So actually put in robots to do certain repetitive tasks, even in ERP. Mm-hmm. So you're actually putting an additional level of automation in the ERP.
Do you know, Henrik and Carla, the other day, when researching about this, I read this one. It was saying, someone asking, can I know everything about SAP? And the answer was, I think it was on Quora, one of these Q&A sites. And the answer was, you can spend a lifetime and you will never, ever get to know,
wow.
Yes, every single thing about SAP. So go ahead, Carla, you have a question, I'm sure.
Yes, I wanted to ask, why is ERP more and more required, if it is required, but I guess so.
So, I mean, it's actually an evolution which goes back at least until the early 90s, around 1990, 92. That was when SAP launched their third version of the software, because actually SAP is a company which was founded back in 1972. So they did almost like predecessors to ERP before that. But in 1992, they really landed a big hit. They launched their version called R3, the third version of the software, and this really became a hit. And since the early 90s, we have a trend that companies, they put their key processes like financial accounting, procurement, supply chain, manufacturing, HR. In a centralized single ERP solution. Of course, there's also all kinds of variances, but the principles of having main process in a single solution, and obviously there are several sort of drivers behind that. First of all, you get much better control. That's an important element, financial control, because every transaction, everything that you do in the system, as you enter a transaction, as soon as you validate it, it will have a financial impact. It will be booked in the financial part of SAP. So it allows for the financial follow-up of transactions, control, because you're only authorized to do the tasks based on a set of authorizations. So it allows for control. So hence much better control, transparency. And also, of course, ease of reporting, because you have all the data in a single system. There are things like, for instance, when it comes to procurement and having inventory, industries where you have a lot of inventory, a lot of stock, it allows you to have a better view on the stock, so that you can reduce actually unnecessary stock and reduce cost for that. It allows you to help plan your production if you're producing, integrating it with production systems. It allows you to have an integrated user employees in terms of the HR model. So it's all about having this integrated view and be able to control things, and thus, of course, also lowering costs and become more efficient.
Wow, that sounds really, really great. Yeah, so if I understood correctly, it integrates different applications. So does it integrate other tools like marketing automation or not? Or can it be the case?
So typically what you see as because the ERP market is now very mature, so you have since like 20 years, you have a lot of vendors out there. I think it was in the late 90s where the concept of CRM was, or in the 90s where customer relation management was invented. So really having like a dedicated set of ERP, CRM is also an ERP, but really focusing on as you said, on marketing, on sales, on customer care. Initially, companies like SAP, they had some CRM functionality in the ERP. They still have, but what you see is that you have the emergence of really dedicated CRM vendors like Siebel, which the first big one. They were bought up by Oracle, and now the clear leader in the CRM market is Salesforce. So you can actually integrate, for instance, the Salesforce, which have marketing automation with SAP, if required. Also, SAP has their own dedicated CRM model, but you can of course integrate,
That's interesting. This question you just posed, Carla, because actually in the list of questions we prepared, Henrik was exactly that one. If sometimes ERP has some CRM functionalities, you actually just reply that. Okay, so even if it has, companies tend to buy specific CRM to manage client relationships. That's what I got. Am I right or?
Yeah, more and more, because the work of somebody who's working in the finance department and somebody who's working in marketing and sales, they're quite different. They have different needs. Finance is typically a back office process. Working with sales or marketing is more customer focused. So you tend to have applications which are really with CRM more adapted for that kind of work, that kind of role. So hence. Yeah, I think it goes quite some time back now. Most big customers, they have a dedicated ERP, and then they have a dedicated CRM.
Yeah, I understand.
In some cases,
go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. I just want to finish. So in some cases, they use the ERP also for CRM tasks, but it's quite typical setup: dedicated ERP, dedicated CRM.
Okay, that's good to know. And when we were also preparing these questions, I remember we had some discussion at some point, because I was curious about what are what is called non or decentralized software against what is called centralized software, which is an ERP or in the case of SAP. And probably the way I asked the question wasn't so clear, but because I've been reading that before, or companies had more decentralized, so it means that there was not, I understand this, and please correct me, there was not a central hub, let's say, where all the information could be shared and everybody will be properly informed and timely informed. So yeah, I just wanted to know if you can explain a little bit about this decentralized enterprise software versus the centralized, which is the case of SAP.
You are right that in the past it was probably not as centralized, because there wasn't applications to allow for this degree of centralization. By degree, an ERP is a quite centralized tool, because it sort of gathers processes across the enterprise, it gathers data across the enterprise, and you also have users across the enterprise. So that's by nature is quite sort of a core or central solution. However, you also got to distinguish about the way that you sort of deploy and operate the solution, because what you could have, a big company, they could have, like, say for instance, let's take a manufacturing company which operates in like internationally 3-4 continents. What they may have actually decentralized ERP installation, so maybe an ERP per country or per region. So that's also having centralized ERPs, but they are run in a decentralized manner, so to say. So it's 2 dimensions to it at least.
So Carla, Carla is via chat saying, I have a very interesting question for Henrik. So go ahead.
Yeah, so if a business wants to implement a SAP solution, what are the requirements for it to do it successfully? I mean, is it difficult to learn? I mean, how do you go about it? How do you advise the business? What is the best solution or solutions to help them be more efficient and productive?
So I guess a key thing is that even if ERP is a technology, an IT solution, it is not it's really not IT focused. It's a business system because it defines the way how you operate, how you processes. It's got a really big impact on the way sort of you run your process. So it's really a business tool. Hence, you really need to have strong business involvement from I mean, it needs to be driven by the business and not by IT. And you need to have the appropriate level of sort of executive commitment. So actually business leaders, they understand the impact and what it means of having ERP. I think that's the first thing. In terms of deploying and learning and sort of an ERP solution, I think it's become a lot easier over the last 20 years because SAP, I mean, it's known to be quite complex and complicated to implement. However, now more and more you have cloud-based solutions which are faster to deploy because they offer less possibility to do custom specific developments, and they're also much more easier and intuitive to use because you have more of an app feel in terms of the user interface. So there's actually quite strong evolution. Obviously, you still need a lot of change management to prepare the business users on the new processes, the new ways of working, but there's been quite a lot of simplification.
And what are the things that you feel that are the how to say it struggles, like what people are resistant to in terms of change when implementing a new solution or deploying a new solution?
Oh, that's
is it a training, upskilling, convincing people?
I mean, it can be a whole set of topics which can create sort of which can create, how to say, barriers or how to say it, challenges. I mean, typically you change the way you work, so there's potentially process changes. Some people may actually their role may change or even disappear because, for instance, you transfer things like financial processes to a certain extent gets transferred to a shared service center. So typically when you implement an ERP in a big company, you have a quite big organizational impact. And as you know, if you do changes to an organization or the way people work, you tend to get people. Yeah, you have challenges of people, making people understand and also accept those changes. So that could be one challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. There is always, backlash when it comes to changing the way you are used to doing things.
Well, that's human, I think. That
It's absolutely human. Yeah, we don't like change. So what would be just your if I Carla, may I, you have another one or can I take this one?
No, go ahead.
Okay, cool. Because I was wondering if you would like to you think of 3 tips, for a company that is about implementing SAP on any enterprise software. Which will they would be? These 3 tips. So it's if you have them, or maybe it can be 1 tip, but what would you recommend to companies?
So I think it goes with what I said to Carla previously, that obviously you need to have a strong business engagement starting at the top. It's really a business decision. It's a business software. That's the first thing. The second thing is that you really you need to have also clearly defined requirements, what you want to achieve, a clear business case. And then I guess you also need to think on the way you do it. Maybe it's better to not to start too big, but really to build the core of functionalities that you want to implement and do that in a realistic time frame, instead of having a massive program where you have a huge scope. But again, it's really sort of depending on specific client and the context. But yeah, so in short, business engagement, business case, business requirements, and also really think of the way you want to deploy it in a way that it makes sense to your business.
And I have a question, actually, in terms of applications, products, technologies, what are those that are absolutely necessary for a business to work efficiently nowadays? For instance, cloud, is it cloud now essential?
Well, cloud is really, it's really more on the way how you deliver your IT, your software. It's not really, it's not like an application per se. So cloud has the advantage that it takes away companies need to have a lot of hardware and infrastructure, data center, also less people in terms of managing the IT, the hardware, and it's run in a centralized way by the company who provides the software. So the updates are made online over the internet. You have lower downtimes, but of course, it's also a cloud software is less flexible if you want to change it, because it's very prescriptive. It's a one size fits all approach. So you need to think am I ready to go for a cloud solution, and can I sort of adapt my processes to fit into this cloud solution? But definitely, cloud is really a strong trend which is not going away.
And
Henrik,
I guess, sorry, go ahead.
No, because maybe your question is related to the previous one, because I have another that just came to my mind. This is not part of. Go ahead, Carla.
No, I was just going to comment that I think managing that the tools that manage data are becoming as well quite important, because we are surrounded by data.
Yeah, and I think also cloud. This is a personal opinion, but because it is very accessible. I mean, you can access it everywhere almost. That it's also an advantage. When it comes to, for instance, of the software we use for our communication, digital comms. Now that we are working mostly from home, there is no problem, to access all those. In general, no. Overall, I would say it's very easy. I have a question, Henrik, probably the last one, and we don't bother you anymore. But one day, not many weeks ago, I explained to a friend of mine that the company had implemented Salesforce. Okay, and then he said, "Okay, that's cool, but I have a question regarding what happens if one day you decide to change the provider." And the question goes also for SAP. What I know is the strongest, software in the field nowadays, but you never know if there is an incumbent coming or there is a new way to doing things. And how does it happen? The migration. Is it possible to migrate from one system to add to another one?
Yes, it's of course possible. However, what happened is that because you're changing software, it's like you're starting a new project. I mean, you're trying to reuse as much as possible you've done in your SAP, but then for instance, you try to reuse the data, you need to transform it. So it's actually a new project. You need to start almost from zero in
scratch.
Technology,
Okay.
and then so it is of course possible, but it does indeed need some work.
So somehow when you start using an ERP, it's kind of a marriage forever. Is what is not happening in the human realm is happening in the software one.
Well, typically, I mean, because it's such a structuring tool, so an ERP in a company typically has a life cycle of at least 10-15 years. And I mean it's now 25 years ago since the company starting really implemented SAP on a large scale, and many of these implementations, they still exist. They are now migrating to the next version of SAP, but it's really a long-term investment. Like when you're buying a Boeing 747, it's not for like a 5 year, but it's really so it's assets which have a quite long life cycle. And I guess an SAP is probably longer life cycle than a Boeing, but yeah.
So you really need to think about it through.
Yes, it's a quite big investment, and yeah.
Or maybe Henrik, back in the days when we were buying a Nokia device that were lasting forever. Do you remember? It's very famous. This Nokia 3200. It's called. I don't remember that.
Yeah, they were quite solid. Yeah.
Yes, very solid. Really, very, very solid. Well, we thank you so much. If anything you want to add to this interesting subject, just to wrap this up.
I think, hopefully we've done the round of the table, and I hope it was not too theoretical to complicate my answers. So no, nothing particular from my side. Thank you very much for having me as guest.
No, absolutely
Thank you
not.
for your time.
Exactly. I think Carla was very clear. I mean, very, very clear.
Yes.
If someone had any doubt about what SAP or what it brings to the business, and in general, if someone wants just to have general knowledge about this, I think it was very, very clear. So thank you so much, and we'll have a very, very good rest of the week, and see you in the next one.
And that was it for today. Thanks for joining us. We really appreciate your company wherever you are. Have a very, very good day. Ciao.